How's your job search going? To be honest, I didn't think that I would still be searching for a job since I was laid off from GoPro a while back, and still looking. I don't really know where to begin. I've gone through probably 50 to 100 interviews at this point with various companies. I've had success of getting my foot in the door with some of these interviews, but it feels a little bit weird because companies appear to want to find the perfect candidate. And so what I'm noticing is that a lot of times I'll go through some interviews. I don't even get through all the technical screenings. Um, and I just get discarded, which is surprising because I don't know. Like, I know how to code, and it's like some of these technical screenings, I feel like they want you to be the perfect coder. You can't make any mistakes. You have to do exactly what they want in the time limit, or you're a rejection because they can find someone else who can do it faster. So part of me feels that I need to grind more on leak code just to get through some of those gates. But that's a little bit demotivating right now because I want to be working on app development. I don't want to just be grinding leak code challenges so that I can, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I think I might start doing some more leak code in the next year if I don't find something. This is taking way longer than I thought it would take. And then the other thing is sometimes I think the behavioral questions, I'm getting rejected on some of those. Some of those, I feel like the interviewer, it's just a clash of personalities. Like, we don't mesh, and they ask me odd questions, and then they don't like my responses. Like, I really thought I was doing well with one of the startups, and then the CEO asked me a few questions, and he told me he didn't like my answers. So I'm like, I don't know what to say, dude. um, so those jobs that I applied to just weren't the right fit. They weren't the right one. That's why I wasn't chosen. I'm supposed to do something else. I think there's something coming. And in the meantime, I'm working on my own app development. I'm working on Mac apps as well as iPhone apps. And I'm working on YouTube a little bit, just creating some content, seeing what's a little bit sticky, seeing if I can get back into it. I previously ran my YouTube channel and a course training company, and I'm debating if I just need to start that up in the meantime while I search. So that's something I'm playing around with. But I find it so much more interesting to be actually doing app development than just applying. And so I want to talk about some of the strategies that I'm using right now. The big one is sort of protecting my time. I am easily distracted, and job searching is a full-time job. It's a little bit demotivating at times. And so one of the things that I do to sort of protect my focus so that I can actually feel accomplished every day is don't do job applications first thing. I try to schedule all job interviews after like 2 p.m. Eastern, my time, so that I have time in the morning to prepare for an interview, so that I have time to work on something, to practice some code, to work on my apps, to um, just do stuff that's not just in the job search just because it's taken so long. And I think that's super helpful. Being on call all the time, I can't do interviews in the morning. Like, it ruins my day. So I try as much as possible to schedule later on in the day. And I have lost opportunities because I've been a little bit hesitant to schedule interviews right away, but it just didn't feel like the right fit. And so I'm glad that I didn't get those positions because I want to have a good working environment. So Uh, I want to talk. I guess I've been through 6 end round interviews, which means that I've interviewed 5 to 8 times with these different companies, which is a lot of interviews. So let's just say it was 7 times 6 is 42 interviews. Interviewing for technical positions is a lot of work, and I don't know how you can do this on the side with a full-time job. I just met one of my high school friends who's been job searching, and he's struggling to get his foot in the door, to get noticed, because there's so many people who have been laid off, and there's so many people sort of vying for the same jobs. The other thing is, like, it really feels like people are searching for the perfect candidate. And I will see positions that I did a technical screen for, or even I got all the way through the end round interviews, and it just gets reposted on LinkedIn, or it gets reposted on these various websites that post jobs. And that's surprising to me. I think I'm talented. I know I'm talented. And it's surprising how quickly companies will discard you if you don't fit the perfect mold. And maybe they're looking for specific skills that I don't have. It just feels like I look at a job and I'm like, I could totally do that. I could totally see myself excelling at this company. I worked at GoPro on camera hardware and software, and I really enjoyed that interaction with the firmware team and working with new devices, figuring out challenging problems. And so, like, some of these new startups or existing companies that have hardware look really appealing, and I'm like, oh wow, I could really see myself working at this company. And then I get rejected. Sometimes without a technical screen, if it's like a VP of engineering who's interviewing me, who's just like super picky. Sometimes it's the technical screen. I just like barely finish, or I don't finish the challenge all the way. And then I finish it afterwards, and it's just like, I just need a little bit more time. And I think that's where like practice of code challenges is so important. But you don't know what they're going to ask. You don't know if they're going to ask you to make an app. You don't know if that you have to parse JSON. So like, you have to prep so many different skills. Or if it's just like a leak code thing, like I really didn't like interviewing with Meta. You really have to grind for Meta, because they'll ask you like 3 challenges in 1 hour. And if you can't finish them, you're not going to move forward past that technical screen. And they recommend that people take like 3 to 5 weeks to like just prepare for the interview process, which is insane. So it's not something that you can just do on top of a normal job. You have to take time off. You have to practice for some of these companies. And now with the market being so competitive, you have to practice even more and be better. I still think that your portfolio should get you in the door if you can talk about something interesting. And I've used my Super Easy Slides app as an example in my latest interviews, just to like break the ice a little bit, to get away from like the code challenge or the project-based work that we were doing, just to be like, can I show you something? Like, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm excited about. And just sort of standing out that way. But it's so hard to get your foot in the door. And my track record right now is I usually hear back from a company 1 in 7. And actually it might be higher. I might hear back in like 1 in 6. But it's a little depressing applying to that many positions just to get a few leads. And sometimes, most of the time, I'll get like 1 or 2 follow-ups fairly quickly, and the rest will be 2 to 4 weeks afterwards. And like this last company that reached out to me, it was 3 months ago that I applied. So I think they filled the one position, but then they realized they wanted another developer. And so then they reopened the same position or something like that. I'm not entirely clear. And I don't know if I'm being lied to from companies. Like, are these companies actually hiring, or are they just sort of putting out feelers to find the one perfect developer? Like, I'm sort of wondering about that. I've seen other people talk about that. Is are they not actually hiring? It's a big question. So I want to dive into what I'm doing, how I'm working, just to sort of summarize like what's working for me, what's not working for me, and maybe things are going to go somewhere. I don't know. We'll find out. Otherwise, you can watch some more of my YouTube videos and download some of my apps. Super easy slides. I was in beta. I just got approved, and yeah, I'm working on that. So that's kind of fun. I'm excited about it. And let's dive over to my spreadsheet. So this is my iOS job search spreadsheet for 2024. I've been using this since April to just track all of the jobs that I've been applying for. For unemployment, you need to do 3 work activities a week. And so I use this to make sure that I have records of applying to different companies. And so my workflow is I will put the date I actually apply or hear from a recruiter. And that's how I know that this is sort of like a validated work activity. For some of these, it's like I don't put a date because I was just sort of exploring them, but I never applied. I haven't always felt motivated to apply to tons of companies. Like I did get a lot of interviews when I applied to like 40 or 50 jobs in one day, but that was like 6 hours of job applications, editing my resume, doing all kinds of custom cover letters. It was just a lot, and I was brain dead at the end, and I haven't wanted to redo that. So I'm kind of coasting right now, just applying to the bare minimum, see if that generates any leads, but not stressed out about it as much, just because it's like the holiday season and we've got a little bit of flexibility right now. But I can't do this indefinitely. So I'm going to have to do another big push on job applications if some of these opportunities don't go anywhere. So this is a list of jobs. I always have the link to either Welcome to the Jungle or the LinkedIn because the other job postings disappear. And so when you go to interview, like let's say that 3 months ago company I applied to, sometimes the job post is not visible anymore. So I think it's really important to use either the LinkedIn or the Welcome to the Jungle listing or wherever other sources are, just so that you can find the job description again, so that when you do have interviews, you can be like, oh yeah, it's this job, because I don't remember. I've applied to so many positions. So at this point, this should be fairly accurate up until this point. Oh, that's not going to give me the list. I think I have to. These are all the jobs I have applied to. So let's go back to here. Is that still 131? It's 160 now. So I've applied to 160 companies, minus a couple rows here, 160 minus 3, so 157 companies at this point. And I've heard back from different companies. So anything that's bold is some company that has either reached out or I have applied and heard back and had some kind of interview interaction. So I've had some. I had a bunch with Apple, and then I really realized I didn't want to move to the West Coast. So that's like, I'm not going to apply to West Coast jobs. It has to be on the East Coast if I'm going to consider it. I just can't do West Coast. And Apple's too restrictive. I can't do YouTube videos if I work for Apple. So it's just like, I talked with legal and I was like, this just doesn't feel right. So these are all the jobs. I just have all the listings and I'm using LinkedIn. So let me just show you the tools I'm using. I was paying for LinkedIn. I stopped paying for it because it doesn't seem to make a difference. I've tried the cold outreach for certain positions, reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Sometimes I've used personal connections at companies to try and do a referral, but that hasn't worked either. I've just been instant rejected from some of those big companies like Google or Microsoft. So what I'm doing to search is I search for iOS in quotes on LinkedIn because this gives me the most relevant searches. It's probably not the broadest search, but I was getting non-iOS. I don't know if that's working. Try that one more time. For some reason, it took away my quotes. This gives me the broadest listings. All right. So the reason I think, and I could be wrong, but I feel like some companies are looking for the perfect candidate. And this one in particular, I interviewed for this position or something similar to it, and I got rejected after going through 6 to 8 interviews. I thought it was a really cool place. I thought some of the developers were really awesome. I don't think I finished one of the code challenges in the time limit, but I finished it afterwards and sent it over. And that's kind of been my experience with code challenges or like project-based work is they ask for a lot. And I think it's really hard to, if you only hit the happy case and you never have an issue, you never have to debug anything, maybe you can do it in the time limit. Once you have one issue, it can totally derail it and mess you up. So like, I feel like some companies are looking for the perfect candidate. And so you can search all of United States, or we can make this a little bit more. So if I just wanted to focus on remote first as a priority of where should I apply, these are the companies that I would want to look at. I had one interview with LTK right here, and that was just a recruiter, and then I just got rejected. So I never had any technical interviews, which is a little disappointing. And they've reposted this position again. It's like, I didn't even get considered technically. I was just discarded. And this one's reposted. So it's like, are they really hiring? I'm not sure. I apply to this one. This one looks like it's been reposted. I think I applied to this one recently, so that one might not be as old. This one, I applied to this one. Oh, let's not do that. I really enjoyed my chat with the hiring manager. I finished the code challenge at the very last minute, so I wasn't. It wasn't as strong as I would have liked. I got stuck up on SwiftUI previews. I should have just skipped the previews, and it was a debugging session trying to find bugs. I should have just run the app without getting the preview to work, but I just like, I'll just get this to work in previews. And I spent so much time getting previews to work because I had to create some mock data that it wasn't worth it. So that was one thing, is like, you've got to optimize your time to be as fast as possible. And don't do something if you are going to be slow at it, or if it's going to take a lot of time. So I was really excited about that one. I was like, oh, I could work for Ford. I could work on a connected mobile app. And then I just got rejected after that second interview, or third interview, I think. So I had 3 interviews with them. Any others? Every time I apply to Airbnb, I usually get a rejection without any contact. I got rejected from Pinterest. I can't apply there for a year. I feel like I was a good fit, and I liked the people I interviewed with, but I think the position, actually, I'll take that back. I was really excited about the position. It was like a researchy position. I could see myself working there, and then I just got rejected. This one looks good. I really do want to apply to this one, so I haven't done that one yet. I think I put that on my list of things to look at. I got to end stage interviews with this one. They have a small iOS team right now. They're trying to expand. I thought I did really well on that one, and I was rejected. So I felt hopeful. The recruiter even thought that I was going to get it, and I didn't. So it feels like they're looking for like a perfect candidate, and it's been, I guess it's still I applied 2 months ago. Will it show me the number of jobs? So a lot of people have applied to it. That was pretty cool. This one is still up. I applied to this one as well. It was reposted again. It feels like they're looking for the perfect candidate and they're not actually hiring. If you get interviews with any of these companies, let me know. I would really like to know if you get one of these jobs that I applied to, because I want to know if they're actually hiring. I'm on the fence if that's actually happening. I got rejected from Reddit. I got to end stage interviews. I feel like it was maybe not the perfect fit for the job that I applied to, but a recruiter outreached to me, and so I went with it. And it's like, okay. I feel like they didn't like some of my behavioral question answers, and that was like in the very beginning of my interview process, so I didn't have the best questions. So I can't apply there for a year either. Oh, is this one? This is a new position. I felt like I had a really good hiring manager interview, and then they had a hiring freeze. And occasionally this job will repost. So I don't know. And there was a remote position. So I don't know if this is looking maybe more like a junior position. So if they're actually hiring, that would be cool. They went on a hiring freeze, and then I don't think they ever reopened the position that I was interviewing for, which was disappointing because I was like just about to get into like probably the on-site interviews, and then it went nowhere. I'm considering applying to this one. Never heard back from Netflix. Never heard back from, actually, I think I just got rejected from Gusto. This one outreached to me. I think it's a contract for Airbnb. I don't know if I'm going to hear anything. I think there's 3 other candidates that the recruiter is putting in front of them, and I don't know how many other people are getting put there for that contract role. Yeah, so it looks like some of these, like, they reopened position, which is perplexing. It's like, are they really hiring another developer? Did they hire anyone to begin with? I'm not sure. It's really easy to get rejected. That is my experience. I applied to one of those other positions. It looks like they still haven't gotten that one filled. That was an engineering manager. I don't want to be an engineering manager. It took going through the interview process to realize that. It's just not what I want to do. I want to be a developer. And then these are all like the low quality, but maybe these are opportunities I should be considering. Some of these I'm just not sure about. And that is the end of the remote positions. All right, so that is LinkedIn job search. And then let's take a look at Welcome to the Jungle, which was formerly called Ada. This is just another place to get jobs. We can find jobs that you can apply with your profile, which is supposed to make you stand out, but it hasn't made a difference. I don't think I've had any success here. I am interested in this one, and this one. So I would need to apply this week, and I just haven't taken time to apply. But those are probably my top ones I'm going to apply for. I did not. This one I got rejected from because they hired someone else. They even knew the head of security there, and that didn't help. I think they were already pretty far in the interview process, and they had the posting for a long, long, long time. So it comes back to, are companies actually hiring, or are these like just throwing the fishing line out and waiting for the perfect fish to bite and then hiring? Like, that's kind of what it feels like. So that's my experience. And then in terms of how I'm working, let's go into Finder and hide everything. So much for hiding everything. Looks like this is not. Move this over here. So I have to make job applications as easy as possible. I have a resume export folder and I have a cover letter export folder. And so for like my last job I applied to, I think was in the car ride home from Thanksgiving or to Thanksgiving. And I generally just customized the beginning. I tried to tell a story with my experiences down here and just have sort of consistent flow. So that's my cover letter format. And I just export them. So I edit in Pages. So I made a design that I could just reuse and then save as. So if I do a Command Shift S, I can save this as a new company. And then I just go in here, update the information here. So I would say at new company. And then here is where I would customize to the job description right here. So I would put that in, and then I do a Command P to print, and then I create a PDF, and I just put this here. And now I have a quick cover letter that I can share. Sometimes they just want the text, so I can just copy this all the way down to here, just do a Command C, and I can paste that into the job application website. And then for resumes, so this looks like the last one that I made. So I use Word right now just because I was wary of, I had my resume in Pages, but I was wary of getting that through some of the filtering systems because most systems seem to be best with either a Word doc or a PDF from Word. And so now this is what I use here. I customize this on occasion. Sometimes I just have a generic one that I use, but sometimes I will customize it for the job description. And then I will add additional things. Like if I know that they need certain skills, I'll put those here. Some other skills that I don't typically have. I don't typically have these on my resume. I'm not the best at, but I can figure it out. And other things that I don't typically have here, I'll just add those in. So that's usually, I will only customize stuff up here, and I don't really customize anything down below. Maybe I should be customizing more, but it's a little depressing when you don't hear back from 6 out of the 7 companies or so, and maybe more, depending on your skill level. You might be in a similar boat. So that is my resume. And then again, I do a Command P to print, and then just save this as a PDF. I do a save as. So like if I was doing a new custom, I'd update the date, and then I would do new company, save it, edit it however I need to edit it. And then I will do that Command P to print it to a PDF if I need to make a PDF. Now, I started putting them all in the same folder, so I have the Word doc and the PDF. It just saves a step. And so then in Finder, I can now just go to cover letters or this resume export and just grab that PDF. Now, sometimes, like if you ever do a Workday job application, you're going to want to use a Word doc to submit it. You're not going to want to do it from a PDF because it will interpret certain characters incorrectly, and then it's a pain to update and fix. So that's my workflow for applying to jobs. I'm customizing a little bit. Maybe I could customize more and I would get more leads, but I feel like 1 in 7 is pretty good. It's just a matter of taking the time to apply to a lot more companies so I can get on their radar. For a while, it was the same companies that I was seeing in the job posting. So like there wasn't a whole lot of new things, though I do think there is benefit to applying earlier in the week and then being sooner in the process so that they see you sooner. If you just wait until the end of the month or end of the week, it's probably not the best time to apply because they've already been looking at some of the candidates and considering them. So that is how I apply. That is my job search process. If you have any other tips, if you have something that's working for you, or if you got hired, comment down below and let us know what's working for you or what's not working for you. If you have any kind of statistics on how often you hear back from companies, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. I hope that you learned something from this video, and you just have to be confident that you will get a position. So one other thing I will say, so I have a notebook, and I have a couple affirmations that I've gone back to just because like this is dragging. So these are some of those affirmations, and the one that I like the most that I will share with you, and you can change the gender based on your needs, but it is a man who is optimistic, self-reliant, positive, and undertakes a task with success in mind, magnetizes himself, and draws on all of the creative powers of the universe. So I like to think about that one. I think you can personalize it to your own situation. It is personalized to me because I identify as a man. So if you identify differently, change the pronouns, change how you write it or speak it. But I think you need to be optimistic. You have to be self-reliant. You have to be believing that you can do anything and that you can learn anything. And then you have to be positive. I don't think you can be negative. If you're going to be negative, it's going to come off wrong in your interviews, in your behavioral interviews, in your interactions with the company. And I think you need to put your best foot forward. So I'm going to keep applying. And if I don't get any new leads this month, next month, I will probably double down on my applications just to like try to get my foot in the door at a bunch more companies, and knowing that I'm going to get a ton of interviews. That's probably the other side effect is like it's draining to do all the job applications, but it is also draining to do that many interviews. So once I applied to like 50 some companies, I started getting a lot of interest from recruiters, a lot of interview appointments, a lot of technical interviews. And that's draining to always be on for those things. So that's the other thing that you have to sort of balance. And I think it's fine to do it in bursts and to try harder some weeks than you do other weeks and just sort of see what works for you. Thanks for watching. If this was helpful, if you learned something, hit the like button, and I will see you in another video. If you want to learn about SwiftUI, I will be making more tutorials working with SwiftUI and iPhone development as well as Mac development, because I have both iOS and macOS apps on the App Store. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video.